Day. I'm Dr. Danielle Morin from the John Molson School of Business at Concordia University in Montreal, Canada. The topic of my presentation is the impact of the pandemic on attitudes and perceptions of students in an MBA analytics group. MBA analytics course is taught using a blended learning pedagogy where there was in-class teaching, traditional teaching, and supported by the technology, in addition to online support, mainly through a Moodle platform. During the fall 2019, that was the approach that we had. In the winter 2020, we started the first 9 weeks using this approach, and suddenly the pandemic hit Canada. Campuses closed. We had 1 week transition from blended learning to online learning. So this had an impact, we believe, on attitude and perception of students. The study context is we're looking at a population which correspond to the MBA student in a Canadian business school. The course, Managerial Analytics, is a course that is taken in the first semester of the program. The study period will be the last week of 2 consecutive semesters, the end of the fall 2019 semester and the end of the 2020 semester. 2020 is the semester that was hit by the pandemic. The same professor teaches both semester, all sections. And as we said before, this is the first course of the MBA program. Our research question is, what is the impact of the pandemic? So we will look at impact on attitude, beliefs, and perceptions. We have a survey of students from the fall 2019 and winter 2020 taking this analytics course, which is the first course in their program. The questionnaire could be divided into 5 parts. The first part, demographics, the age and gender of the respondents, then expertise in Excel or quantitative analysis, attitude and beliefs about analytics, and perceived contribution of activity and resources for higher order thinking skill and for team building skills. During a normal semester, including fall 2019, we offer lectures, office hours with the professor and the teaching assistant, assignment, a midterm exam, a consulting project with companies all over Canada, and a summative final exam. In the winter 2020, which started like the fall 2019, things had changed. Instead of lectures in the classroom, we have live Zoom lectures, which were recorded and available to students after. We have also live Zoom office hours with the professor and also with the teaching assistant. We have online assignments, midterm exam. The consulting project continued in spite of this new virtual environment, and it has added to the challenges. And we have a summative online final exam. We will look at the impact on the higher order thinking skills and team building skills. The definition of those skills, based on Thomas 2001 and used in several publications, the higher order thinking skills are the critical thinking, problem solving, research, and creativity. For the team building skills, we'll have communication, the work cooperation, and team cooperation. These will be my team building skills. And then the demographic of the student. So we start now, let's look at the results. Now we find in the fall 2019, 60 students responded to the survey and 49 in the winter. This is normal because students prefer to start their MBA in the fall semester. There are always more in the fall than in the winter. We noticed that in the fall semester, we had 60% male versus 40% female students. In the winter term, we have 63.3% male and 36.7% female. we see that the distribution of age is slightly different, but not very much. So we see that in the fall semester, we have of the students under the age of 30, 56.8% were male and 43% were female. And similarly, for the winter, the numbers have increased a little bit, so 64.3% male versus 35.7% female. We see also in the fall 2019, we have students more than 35 years of age, and they were all male. In the winter semester, we have of those who are more than 35 years of age, they're equally distributed between male and female. That gives us an idea. Then we ask a student to evaluate their expertise in Excel. So what we note is that the percentage of students who claim that their expertise is only minimal is higher in the winter. Similarly, for the quantitative subject, the percentage of students who claim that their expertise is minimal is also higher in the winter term. Maybe because at the end of the semester, when this statistics is collected, when the student had to finish the course online, maybe they realized that if they had a better grasp of Excel and quantitative subject, it might have helped them. And then we are looking at their attitude and beliefs. So this table 3 gives us the level of agreement on the Likert scale from 1 to 5, when 1 is strongly disagree, 2 is disagree, 3 somewhat in between, and 4 agree, and 5 strongly agree. So we divide this section. The first 3 statements correspond to beliefs. The next 3 correspond to attitude. The next one correspond to expectations. Statement 8 and 9 correspond to apprehension. And statement 10 and 11 correspond to learning. So let us verify the results that we find here. We find that the student perceive that they have a strong mathematical skills more in the fall, in the normal fall semester 2019. They believe they have more confidence in their mathematical skills. Led me to believe that in the winter they lost a little bit of their confidence. And then we have the mathematical skills are necessary. Now this is, again, it was strongly believed in the fall more than the winter. Although in the winter, students they lack a little bit, they don't believe as much as their skills, but they don't believe it is so much important. And also the third statement claiming that the statistics analytics is a complicated subject, then students in the fall 2019 have higher level of agreement with this statement. So in the winter, when we expect everything to be so much more difficult, well, students don't think it is very as complicated as others thought in the fall. When we look at the attitude, was the course a pleasant subject for me? So we see it has been a more pleasant subject during the pandemic session, which is again very surprising result. The level of enjoyment is the same thing. The course has been more enjoyed during the pandemic. And lastly, I have learned a lot. Well, we say that for most of them, there is learning a lot in the winter semester. But for male students, they thought they learned a lot before the pandemic than during, which is not the same thing for female students, and overall, they have learned more in the winter. The expectation is, of course, higher in the fall. The expectation of getting a good grade is higher in the fall semester than in the winter. In terms of apprehension, we can see the numbers here, so that in the overall in the winter semester, more people thought it was easier than anticipated. It was not the case for female students where we saw a drop. And for male students, we saw an increase. So the reaction is slightly different. And if I look at the ninth statement, the apprehensiveness, so again, we have mixed results. Overall, there was more apprehension in the fall semester, but this is reversed for male students who felt more apprehensive in the winter semester. Female students, completely the opposite. They felt strongly apprehensive in the fall and not as much during the pandemic session. And here we have the form a group study. So we would have overall, we have more support for the ideas of forming a group study in the fall semester. But again, we see a small difference here. In the fall semester, always more interesting. And here we have it's easier to learn in class instead of online. We can see the level of agreement is stronger in the fall semester when the class was given in class. In the winter, so the support for this statement is not as high. That means there's the perception that maybe it is still possible, maybe easier to work in this course, but being taught online. We also look at the perception. So the students report their perception of the contribution of different activities and resources. So the first four here correspond to my resources. We are using a 3-point Likert scale. 1 is not at all, 2 is somewhat, and 3 is a lot. We see that the PowerPoint notes correspond to an increase in the perception of students that those PowerPoint notes contribute higher to research, critical thinking, problem solving, and creativity. Same thing is true for the YouTube video. Now we see during the pandemic semester, those two resources have contributed more to these higher order thinking skills than during the normal semester. The class lecture here shows the following results. The class lecture has contributed more to the research in the winter semester, but less when we think about problem solving and creativity. Critical thinking is about the same for both semesters. End of chapter problem, we see it was higher in the fall semester, but note that the results are really low except these two here, so we can see that it is contribute more to critical thinking and problem solving, more than in the winter semester. As for the assignment seemed to have contributed more to research and the critical thinking and also creativity during the fall semester, but we find that in the winter semester, we see that it was problem solving that has been developed the most using assignment. As for the exam, we see some different results here. We see that the exams during the winter, the pandemic session, have contributed more to critical thinking and problem solving. I think it is the preparation for those exams that have helped these numbers. And we see that, but for research purposes, it was higher in the fall, and for creativity, higher in the fall. The project, which is an important part of the course, has contributed more in the winter to research, problem solving, and creativity, and not as much as critical thinking, which was higher in the fall. So we can see during a semester of pandemic, reaction or perception of students are different from one to the other. We also studied for team building skills. If, again, on a 3-point Likert scale, where 2 is more neutral and 1 not at all. So we note that nothing is extreme, but we see a little bit more support for the class lecture has helped with the communication, the perceived development of communication skills even more in the winter term. How can we understand that? The lectures are offered online, live Zoom session, so students are not as shy to ask a question because they are behind a screen. As for the assignment, we see that the assignment have participated in the improvement of coordination and also at equal level for cooperation. So we see that there's not too much difference, but really it has contributed more to coordinating work in a team. And for the project, we see definitely that the project has contributed more to cooperation, to coordination, and equally to communication, and for cooperation, a little bit more in the fall semester. Again, a semester with a pandemic where there is this change of pedagogy makes some interesting results here. And then we see, in conclusion, we see that the expectations are lower in the winter term. Remember, the winter is the pandemic session. The confidence, self-confidence is lower in the winter. So therefore, online teaching could be beneficial if it is well done. So again, extensive PowerPoint note and YouTube videos contribute to the development of the higher order thinking skills more in the winter. The examination also contribute well to critical thinking and problem solving, but again, more in the winter. So it seems to me that in the case of a situation where things are difficult, these things can help. And the consulting project and assignment contribute to development of all the higher order thinking skill and the development of team building skill, and those are the activities that contribute the most to the development. As a recommendation, for course designer, I recommend the extensive PowerPoint notes and YouTube videos are beneficial and should be emphasized or developed. For the administration, there should be a requirement that the live Zoom lecture be recorded and made available later. For faculty in general, the workload for students seems to reach a higher level when online. This has to be monitored closely. And for students, the preparation seminar for a course like that should be strengthened to increase students' confidence in their quantitative and mathematical skills. For further study, we can look at our perceived skills and ability related to performance in online learning. How does it relate? And how is the level of prior exposure to an online learning could affect performance, attitudes, and anxiety? And the reason why students are taking the course could also reveal other elements that could contribute to motivation, attitude, and anxiety. In the case of the winter semester, it was not the choice of the student. They end up finishing the semester online where they had anticipated to take the semester completely in class. So I hope you find this interesting. If you have any question, please do not hesitate to contact me through email. Thank you. Have a good day.